You use Evian skin cream. And sometimes you wear lead at home. But not today.
It's Sunday morning on CBS. Here again is Lee Cowan.
The name Anthony Hopkins is almost synonymous with Hannibal Lecter, that chilling character that he played in The Silence of the Lambs. Well, this morning he and fellow actor Jonathan Pryce are in conversation with Tracy Smith about their latest roles.
Something that just doesn't happen just did. A pope resigned.
This is what the unthinkable looked like back in 2013.
Benedict has been in failing health for some time.
85-year-old Pope Benedict, saying that he was too old and frail to continue in the job, resigned and flew off to retirement. And a few days later, something else that was once unthinkable rocked the Vatican.
Buonasera.
Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio of Argentina became Francis, the first pope ever from the New World. For the first time in 6 centuries, the Catholic Church had 2 living popes.
Your style and your methods are entirely different to mine.
It's anyone's guess if the 2 men hung out or what they might have talked about when it was all happening, but a new Netflix film is filling in the blanks.
Now I can see a necessity for Bergoglio.
In The Two Popes, we hear what those conversations might have been based on both men's speeches and writings.
It could never be me.
And since they disagreed on almost everything, not all of that conversation is polite.
You're mistaken. You are silence.
Jonathan Pryce, who's been said to look a lot like the real Pope Francis, plays him in the movie.
If you do this, you will damage the papacy forever.
And Sir Anthony Hopkins is Benedict.
What damage will I do if I remain?
You did say to me, Jonathan, that you were nervous the first time you were on set with Tony.
Don't.
I'm sorry.
Don't let him know that I was nervous of him. Okay?
All right, fine.
No, I was. I mean, there was you're nervous about any actor you're working with, but I was especially, I've been a fan of Tony's for a long time.
Did you go to church when you were a kid?
Yes. Yeah.
Truth is, Pryce slipped rather easily into the role, as we learned when we met up at the Met Cloisters, a medieval arts museum in New York. Of course, it's not quite the Vatican, but the Fuente Dueña Chapel there has a certain celestial majesty all its own.
So when you were first asked to play the Pope, what'd you think?
Well, the day he was created Pope, the internet was full of images of both of us next to each other, recognizing the likeness. And even one of my sons called and said, Daddy, are you the Pope? Forgive me, but...
He's not, of course, but for 2 hours, he seems to get pretty close.
Christ did not come down from the cross.
Pryce, a respected stage actor who's also been in more than 6 films, says he still gets stopped on the street for this one. The 1985 cult classic, Brazil.
I get people saying it changed their lives seeing that film.
I'm curious, because you are widely seen as one of the finest Shakespearean actors of our time, how you reacted when Disney came to you and said, we'd like for you to be in a movie that's based on an amusement park ride.
Oh, that. Lower your weapons. For goodness sake, put them down.
The movie, of course, was Pirates of the Caribbean. And if you're wondering how Jonathan Pryce could be happy in a Disney franchise, wearing a wig no less,
are you there?
It might be the advice he got years ago over lunch with legendary acting coach Lee Strasberg.
So I said, Mr. Strasberg, I'm doing this show on Broadway. I've never done anything for weeks and months on end. What advice can you give me? And he had a sandwich in his hand, and he said, you do it. It's your job.
And now, in The Two Popes, it's Pryce's job to face off against the intimidating Anthony Hopkins.
God always corrects one pope by presenting the world with another pope. I should quite like to see my correction.
Did you feel like you could relate to Benedict?
Yes.
In what sense?
Well, I'm old, like he is.
But he sure doesn't act old.
It's astounding.
It's something, isn't it?
When he's not out shooting movies, Sir Anthony, who turns 82 this month, is an avid painter.
And you have several going at once.
Yeah.
You might say Hopkins has a knack for creating indelible images.
Did you do all these drawings, Doctor? That is the Duomo scene from the Belvedere. You know Florence?
In a storied career, he's probably best known for his Oscar-winning role
Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
as an especially hungry villain.
You knew Hannibal Lecter was the part of a lifetime when you read the script.
Well, I knew it was one of those showy parts, yeah. I didn't know how.
What's your relationship with that character now?
Nothing, I've forgotten all about it.
You've forgotten, but people must constantly.
Oh, they want me to do the...
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
For him, the 1991 role seemed to come at just the right time.
You fly back to school now, little Starling.
Somebody said, why did you do that part? I said, well, it pays the bills. And I remember my mother had been very ill. Paid for her hospital bills.
Silence of the Lambs did.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest thing is to listen, to hear his voice, God's voice.
On screen and off, it seems faith comes easy to Anthony Hopkins, or at least it does now.
Did this affect how you see the divine doing this movie? Did it make you look at religion differently?
Yes. I used to be, let's say, a non-believer. And nothing wrong with that. I didn't believe in anything, except I was in a lot of mental and emotional pain, drinking too much and all that stuff.
But Hopkins says he got sober in 1975 after a chat about God with someone from AA, and he now believes that his sobriety took more than just his own willpower. A lot more.
Suddenly the craving to drink vanished. It was vacuumed out of me, it just vanished. And a very sense of well-being. For the first time in my life, I was about to turn 38 years of age. 38, that was 44 years ago almost.
So do you think that when you were 38 and you were able to just quit drinking, was that divine intervention?
It's a loaded word. Yeah, I think about it.
Do you know the Beatles?
Yes, I know who they are.
Of course you do.
Eleanor Rigby.
Who?
Eleanor Rigby.
No, I don't know her.
You know, Yellow Submarine. Dum-dum-dum-dum.
While the film does deal briefly with the abuse that's rocked the Catholic Church, at its heart, The Two Popes is about rivals hashing out their differences. And maybe that's the point. Sometimes even the most unlikely partners can end up finding some kind of harmony.
Is there anything else you want to touch on as a duo?
Should we do the song?
Yes.
Okay.
Underneath the arches,
I dream my dreams away. Underneath the arches, down Haverford Lane. That's it. Cut.